Grew up with a single mom. My dad and mom divorced when I was 8 years old. Raised my brother and I on a $500 a month welfare check. Didn't come from money. Really had to navigate most of our childhood without having a father around. And dropped out of high school when I was 17 years old. Running with a really rough crowd, criminals. One of the guys that I grew up with, we had just got done kicking somebody's butt. He said, "You need to come to church with me this weekend." And I said, all right. Within a few weeks, I was getting baptized and giving my life to Jesus.
I was raised by two amazing parents and a few siblings, born and raised in the church. When I got hit my teenage years, I completely rejected God. Moved out of my parents' house as soon as I turned 18 and was not living a great life.
We were both working at a restaurant. She was serving, I was cooking.
I saw him in the restaurant and fell in love with him immediately. And I literally was like, I'm gonna marry that man someday. And I chased him for 20 years.
Yeah, well, I would say that it took me that long to smarten up. The rest is history. The economy was a little rocky, the housing market was crashing, and I was watching the Bloomberg report, and I said, honey, we're moving to Dallas, Texas. There's conservatives that live down there, and those were our two values, was God, and we knew the alignments that we wanted to be around. We moved to Dallas with about $1,500. I borrowed about $1,000 of that to get my real estate license. Whatever the rest of the amount was, we put up for rent. We had about $60 left in our account. I remember just coming home one night and said, Amy, we gotta get connected to a church. Pastor Keith and Sheila were on TV with Joel Osteen, and they were advertising for their Easter service. And I said, honey, we're going there. The service was absolutely incredible. By about the end of the service, Pastor Keith is in tears. I was up there crying. I hadn't cried in 15 years, and I'm sobbing too. This is a man who, his wife loves him. He respects his wife. His kids absolutely love him and adore him. They're serving in the church, and I knew right away that those were the type of people that they were. Pastor had talked about 10%, and we had never tithed. And I just looked at Amy and I said, we're doing this. I started serving on the usher greeter team. Pastor had talked about if you're unmarried and you're living together. I went home that day. I took a twisty tie off a loaf of bread, made a ring out of it, ended up making a card for her and
proposing, and I said yes.
You know, we really genuinely, both of us, we wanted so badly to just be all in for Christ. So now I come into this company with $60 in my account. One of our goals was to have $100,000 in our bank account by the end of the year. I had never even made $100,000 in a year, let alone save and put into our account. And by the end of that year, I went #1 in the company, and we had saved $100,000. It was absolutely incredible. Ended up moving to Minnesota. Things were going incredible.
Watching online, doing an extension service.
Made a lot of mistakes even when I went back to the Twin Cities. Forgot everything. Totally took God out of the picture. Didn't give God any of the glory for what he had done in our lives. Made it about me, made it about Amy. Long story short, the local government there did not like the business model. It was new to the city, and we ended up having to shut down our office. And it was a real humbling experience. Maybe this is what God wants. God doesn't want us to do this. Pastor Keith, we had a great conversation once, and he had said, people are so quick to blame things on the devil, but maybe these things happen because of the man or woman that you're going to become through the process. It gave us this revelation of just how important it is to stay connected to the alignment and stay connected to the house. You know, we end up deciding to move to Tampa, Florida, of all places, and reconnecting with Pastor Keith and Sheila, and Pastor Keith through his mastermind. Almost immediately, we started seeing the fruit of that in our office. Within 3 years, we're #1 in the company, our office is. I got associates that are coming to me. They're like, Josh, you're such a great speaker. You could run a podcast. You could be a public speaker. You could write a book. I was like, I've been here before. And God humbled me. So I chose the opportunity. I just said, hey, if you think I'm so great, you got to meet the man and the woman that I learned from. And that's when I started getting the associates and the team members plugged into Pastor Keith and Sheila's mastermind and getting them plugged into ELC. And immediately they started having success. We've had so far 35 people give their life to Christ through our offices. In one weekend, we invited 30 new men come to the Warrior Weekend. Privileged and honored to be able to baptize 9 of those young men.
we're no longer going to separate God from business. It's going to be all in. We are who we are wherever we go. And when we started sharing it and not shying away, and Josh really just becoming a father figure that he never had. He never had the father to show him the way to do it, to become the father figure to all these young men within our company and women, the majority of which don't have fathers just like him. And they see him making these right decisions and being so successful, doing things God's way. It's really just so inspiring. And these young men, I mean, just in their own words, they don't even know what they're saying, but they're like, this is what I've been looking for my whole life is this leadership. And in reality, they've just been looking for a father their whole life. And it's just amazing to see Josh be able to grow into this man and lead so many people to Christ. And you brought 10 men, and then 15 men, and then this last year, like you said, 30 men, and being able to baptize them as your sons has just been, it was one of the most amazing experiences I ever had in my life.
We're committed to do everything that we can of what God is doing through ELC and through this legacy movement. So this building, it isn't just about a building, it's about the lives that are being changed in the building. Maybe if you're sitting in here today like I was sitting in church and you're thinking, am I really making a difference? I want you to know yes. Yes, you can. Because it was really easy to think that you're not making a difference. It's really easy to think that God's not listening and He's not watching. And it's a lot easier now to look back on and go, man, hindsight's always 20/20. It's a lot easier to look back on and go, man, God is doing an amazing thing.